Welcome to Secular Sankofa, the podcast of the Association of Black Humanists, a space where we speak boldly, think freely, and live consciously. So here we have honest and unapologetic conversations about race, belief, power, and liberation from a Black and godless point of view. My name is Clive Areude. I'm your host today, and I'm joined by my co-host, Audrey Simmons. Our guest today is Dr. Leo Igwe, Nigerian human rights activist, campaigner, scholar, and internationally respected humanist. Dr. Igwe is particularly known for his work challenging witchcraft accusations and defending the rights of vulnerable people across Africa. Leo, it's really truly a pleasure to have you with us today. So in today's episode, we'll be exploring several interconnected themes drawn from your work and experience. So we're going to look at the current condition of Black unbelief, religious deconstruction, and how non-belief plays out online, the realities of unbelief in Africa and the global South. And of course, these are large and complex topics, so we'll dive right in straight away. Audrey and I will take turns guiding different parts of the conversation. So first of all, if I could just ask you to begin, for listeners who may not yet be familiar with you or your work, Leo, could you please introduce yourself, narrate your intellectual journey from belief to disbelief?
Yes, thank you, Clive. Thank you, Audrey. I think it's always a pleasure to be here and to tell a story that is not common. That is the story of Black non-believers or Black non-belief. I was born in a small community in southeastern Nigeria shortly after the Nigerian Civil War that was in 1970. And within my community, we had people practice both Christianity and traditional belief. So I was born within a very complex religious setting. And actually, consciously and unconsciously, that was how my journey started. Because you grow up in an environment, people go to church during the day, and back home or at night, they consult different religious actors. We call them traditionalists, we call them priests, but they are locally called and addressed in a way that lets you understand that they have a lot of power and that what they are doing should be taken seriously. So I grew up divided in terms of religions. Where lies the religious loyalty? Where lies the truth? A lot of people are socialized that way. But I started growing up trying to ask because I wanted to know, where do I go? Do I go to the church or do I go, you call them the shaman or the traditional priest and all that? Now, I started as an altar boy when I was in primary school. And of course, the altar boy gets you very close to be with the priest. You move around with them. And as a child, I was enjoying it. Yes, standing up there in the altar, of course, looking down on other people and other people coming up the altar to come and take hosts from my hand. You know, just a small boy. But I must tell you, I never gave it a thought. But they were all registering in my subconscious as I was growing up. So after that, my mom got me enrolled in a seminary to become a priest. And I went there. So it was when I started the seminary training that the whole thing started dawning on me, because one of the questions they asked us during the interview is, why do you want to become a priest? And they asked us this question in preparation for the interview. And they said we should respond, I would like to be a priest because I want to serve God in a special way. Okay, I went for the interview. They asked me the question, I answered. And they said I passed. And that was how I joined the seminary. I started the training. So it was in the seminary, I started asking myself questions about religion and about God. And I was telling you that there was no good answer. Yes, there was no good answer then. There is no good answer now. And of course, as a young child, you will be asking yourself, maybe something wrong with you, because everybody will be pretending as if they have good answers. Oh, do you see God? They say, yes, I see God. Do you encounter God? I talk to God. Everybody will be saying this thing. And I'll be asking myself, do I really see God? have I really encountered God? When I pray, am I really talking to God? Am I talking to an empty space or joining people saying the same thing? I need it because if I'm talking to my parents, I know I'm talking to my parents. They're there. They will talk back. But you talk to God, nobody talks back. You get it? And they will tell you, oh, God has answered my prayer. I'm like, when? How? If you make a request from your parents, if they answer it, if they respond positively, they tell you, look at it. So there was no good answer. And that made me curious. And I noticed that a lot of people are there pretending to have good answers. And I'm like, what is going on? Okay. And a lot of educated people with degrees, priests were there. So that was how my journey started. So at a point, I studied philosophy. And it was when I studied philosophy, the whole thing just scattered in my mind in terms of belief and unbelief. Because philosophy encourages one to question, to interrogate, to critically examine beliefs, to ask for evidence. And one thing, when it comes to religious teachings, don't even try it. Don't ask for evidence. What they will show you, you will just get so distraught. You'll be disturbed what they show you as evidence. So the whole thing crumbled. So what I did after studying philosophy, I said, no, there's no way I will continue with this. Some of my colleagues were persuading me, why not come? Maybe with time you will understand. With time, you are not the only one who has actually questioned this. I looked at it deeply. I know that the kind of lies religion was built with, there's no time that will heal it. Okay? So eventually, I left the seminary in 1994 and I now started the humanist movement because I felt that was the only way for me to have some kind of sanity in terms of my engagement of the world and our engagement of my life. So this is how my upbringing now eventually led to my journey as a humanist.
Yeah. So could you describe your role as a human rights activist and particularly your focus on anti-witchcraft accusations? What made you so passionate about anti-witchcraft accusations in particular?
Yes, this is very interesting. Okay. And I must tell you that what made me passionate is still something that people ask me that question till today. Now, let me see how I can put it clearly. Yes, growing up, there were allegations that some people, men, women, that they had these supernatural powers and that they use it to cause sickness, illness, and death. As a child, I was aware of it. And of course, I try not to ask too many questions. I try to go with what my parents were teaching me. But I also, as I was growing up, I started asking the questions. I started asking, trying to find out, these powers, where are they? You know, because in rural communities, not London, what you are seeing in London or in the UK is not what I mean. I mean, rural communities, no electricity, no pipe-borne water. What I was saying, people sleep immediately the sun sets, people go to sleep because you cannot effectively move around without either getting bitten by snakes or something like that. So I'm just telling you that typical rural community, okay? And I was asking myself, what's the evidence that people have supernatural powers to harm others? So now, it's not only that they have that belief. People take action against such people, accused. They kill them. They lynch them. They beat them to death. So I was saying that this thing that could make someone to kill the other person must be grounded on something very solid. So I started asking questions, started investigating. And I was hearing stories. Like I told you, religious assumptions are built on very, baseless, flimsy stories. Oh, I was in a dream. I saw this woman and I have to kill her before she kills me. That's the kind of thing they were telling you. Oh, you saw this woman. We were asking her, where are you coming from? And she was mentioning names. These are names of the people that are together in the occult world. So I saw no reason why people should be killed in the name of witchcraft. And I found out that these people were innocent people. Either they were elderly people, they were sick, they had dementia, okay? Or it's as a result of family quarrels and disputes. So these are innocent people. Let me tell you, that was what broke the camel's back for me. Immediately, I established that these elderly people, being accused and beaten were innocent, everything dropped from my eye. And I now went all out against accusers, against witch hunters, against anyone enabling these abuses.
Thank you. That is really very clear. And I'd just like to hand over to Audrey now, who's going to talk about the current condition of Black unbelief. Audrey?
When I'm listening to these stories and I'm hearing what you're saying, I'm just thinking about the current situation within Nigeria, within Africa. So you're telling us about witchcraft and all of that, but I'm still looking at Africa and thinking about, when we think about Nigeria, 95% of Nigerian people subscribe to one religion or the other, and either Christianity or Islam. And I'm just curious as to what your thinking is as to why, after all these years, after all this time, after everything that we know, African people are still so into religion. What is your thinking on that?
First of all, I want you to try to cast some doubt, question the religious demographics you get there. The issue about African Nigeria being 50-50 Muslim, I've been hearing it all my life. And Audrey, let me ask you, what is it about a population that has no shift in its belief and non-belief pattern? Something is wrong with it. Okay? We do not have credible census when it comes to religious issues. Very often, they omit the section, okay? Or even when they include it, you know what they do? When they go to an environment, they say, Muslims are living in this area. Every person is recorded as a Muslim. It is not like an individual, or they are not given individual opportunity to identify whether they are religious or not, whether they are Christian or not. So there is this implicit, this kind of tacit coercion here for everybody, either to be identified as religious or to identify as religion. That's one. Number two, Nigeria is one of the most irreligious nations in Africa. I can tell you that, and I'll prove it. Now, let me tell you, Nigerians identify with religion or as religious out of fear, not out of belief. And anything you are doing out of fear, out of coercion, go to the police station, immediately you confess something under torture. It is not admissible in court. Immediately it is obvious. So Nigerians are religious, just like people who confess to a crime under torture and coercion at police stations. Okay? And if you put this, if you understand this, you will now make sense of what is going on. That's one. Number two, in the northern part where Islam is dominant, Sharia is legally and de facto actually enforced. What I say that is that even when it is not being enforced by the state, you also have other actors who enforce this. Families, communities, friends, everybody is a Sharia enforcer, your official and unofficial. And under Sharia law, if you embrace Islam, you don't leave. Honestly, I realized this some years ago. I didn't know. And I was like, what is this? What kind of religion is it that you can embrace, but you cannot renounce? So in Nigeria, if you are born into a Muslim family, you are a Muslim for life. Okay. So the people you are counting as Muslims are people being held hostage by the religion. And I want to tell you one of the reasons why one of us who made a remark about Muhammad was tackled and even arrested was that they said he wanted to open the door for a lot of people to leave Islam. So for them, everybody, whether you believe, you don't believe, whether you want it or not, if you are born into a Muslim family, you are a Muslim. You know. So the 95% you are saying, 95% of people, most of whom cannot openly say what they believe because of fear of being persecuted, either by a family or sometimes by the state. So what I'm saying there is that with this condition, you can now situate the fact why, with all the years of religion and Christianity, we are still where we are.
Hearing that, and I'm fully understanding that, why is it still the same when we've got African people outside of that, outside of Nigeria, here in Britain, who are still very religious, who still go through that same process when they haven't got that kind of persecution on their back? Why would we still be behaving that way?
I don't live in the UK, I don't live in the US, I live in Nigeria. So I can only give you my opinion from here as somebody who's a Nigerian. And I have family, relatives, and friends who live in the US. There is a saying in my language, Igbo language. They said, you don't learn the left hand at old age. You don't learn to use the left hand at old age. Okay? So a lot of people, Nigerians who live to study overseas, their mind already shaped. Okay? Let me tell you this. I met a woman in Nigeria. We're doing some display of humanist materials at an event. A woman came and told us that, look, that she had memorized the Quran before she was able to think, that she could not think outside the Quran. Okay? So they capture us very early so that when you go out, I think English people will say the default mechanism you use to engage every society is the religious. Is a religious facility. Especially when you know very well that it can gain you acceptability. That's why the Christians will go to the UK. They won't go to Saudi Arabia to preach. They won't go to Iran. Okay? Now, to express their religion, they will go to America. They will identify with the Christian rights. That's very powerful. So because there are opportunities there. And again, it also helps in integration, in quote, integration in quote. I'm sure that I'm telling you this because I know that Europe and America are having a lot of discussion about immigrants and integration. But let me tell you what I mean by integration. When they travel overseas, they have to associate and try to associate with people from their same community. So the churches are easy where they go to get integrated, to ask people, how do they survive here? What do we do? Whom do we get support from? Because sometimes they are coming as immigrants, they don't have all the entitlements. How do we get all these entitlements? The churches and the places they go to. They won't go to the state. They won't go to the state district because the state has already clear laws for them. So where they can give them a soft landing is those groups. Are they going there because they believe? No. They are going there because it benefits them. Remove that benefit, they will not be there. So this is the way I could just explain it. And that is why the non-belief movement, they have not started their work. I'm not saying that you and Clive are not doing well, or the Association of Black Non-Believers are not doing well, but we must provide that alternative. And I want to tell you, immediately we provide that alternative and we have a seat at the table. I can assure you from my experience, a lot of people will come and tell you, I say, listen, don't mind. I've not always believed. A lot of people tell me that in Nigeria. I was in the village. I went to visit this Christmas and I met one of my colleagues, an ex-Catholic seminarian. He told me that I'm just going to church just because of what people will say. Because if he doesn't go to church, people might start taunting him or something like that. So we need to understand, why are Black people religious? And immediately we understand it and begin to address it. I want to tell you that they're not religious because they believe. That's religious because it benefits them.
That makes so much sense. I'm going to hand over to Clive now to talk about the kind of the generational aspect of non-belief and the online activism. Clive, I'm going to hand over to you.
Thank you, Audrey. Yeah, Leo, not too long ago in Nigeria, we had the situation, a very distressing situation, where Deborah Samuel was killed for her so-called blasphemous views. And also, Mubarak Bala was sentenced to 24 years for blasphemy. So do you see religious persecution increasing or decreasing in Nigeria in the near future?
It's very unfortunate Deborah was killed and murdered in the way she did. And as far as I am concerned, we all, religious, non-religious, Christians or Muslims or non-believers, should condemn, unanimously condemn such expressions. Yes, we must come out unequivocally against it. It's also unfortunate that Mubarak was arrested and tried, prosecuted in a process that, He's not just compatible with any justice system anywhere. He was given his prison sentences. But it's a sign that there is something dangerous about religion in Nigeria. And we must be aware of that. And we must address the root. Because what could make somebody to kill another person based on the comments the person made about a prophet? What could make somebody justify the killing of anybody? Just a mere comment. Yeah. So that will tell you the extent religion has destroyed our conscience as a society. And we must call it out, no matter whether it is Islam or Christianity or traditional belief, no matter the ideology. And by this I mean, some people could say, oh, atheism also committed crimes and all that. They are our ideas. Any ideology, religion, that has grown to such a way that members or professors or adherents value that idea more than human life should be condemned in very clear terms. And that is the same thing goes to the killing of Deborah and the arrest and prosecution. So what happens is that we must all be vigilant. Yes, look, we can no longer be passive non-believers. Yes. Because when I left the seminary, I had that option. Should I just ignore these people and just live my life? Just go to one corner of the world and live out my life quietly and ignore them, get a job, feel secured somewhere, have a small family, that kind of. So I said no, but I will not have peace in my mind. Because, of course, you will still be reading about all these killings and all that, and you say, you have to do something. So I chose a more proactive approach to these issues. So, and I'm saying that to everybody. If we keep quiet, the Deborah case will happen again. If we sit back, if we are indifferent, the Mubarak's case will happen again. So one of the things I did with the Mubarak's case is that, look, we may be a minority. We may be a very small group, but don't try this again. Will they try it? We are dealing with fanatics. They will. But they should know that there will be a response. There will be a very strong response. And that is why I also thank the Association of Black Humanists and non-believers across the world, the Humanists International, for the way they rallied around me and around us. Because they thought that they could get away with it. And I want to tell you, they did not. Yes, they did not. So the situation could worsen if we do nothing. The situation could also get better if we do something. And I would suggest, just like in the case of Mubarak, let us continue to do something so that what happened to Deborah and Mubarak do not happen again.
Yeah. So that's great. And what about online activism, Leo? So people have moved from more spaces where it's offline and you show up and you do your activism to more online activism. Has it changed things much in your view within the secular and humanist community?
Yes, it has changed. But it has changed because it has given non-believers spaces they never had before to express themselves. Yes. In fact, because I lived before the offline, that's before the internet, I worked and operated before the internet, and I'm now working and operating. Now we have the internet. I can tell you the difference. And I want to tell you the difference is not, you cannot imagine it. Now, let me just give you one example. In the 90s, Nigeria had issues with the Commonwealth and got sanctioned after killing Areude. So if you send a mail to the UK, it takes about 3 months to get a reply. So now, today, if I send an email to the UK, it takes seconds. So if you can imagine that kind of difference, this thing I'm telling you, you can only imagine, but I'm telling you, I'm the one. You know what I used to do those days? Every week, I'll be sending out letters so that when the replies keep coming, every week I keep getting replies and all that. Because if you send one letter and you're expecting the reply, you have to wait for about 2-3 months before you get a letter reply. Sometimes more if it goes to Australia and all that. But today, within a minute or two, or within a day, you get a reply. And you get all the documents you need. If you're traveling for a visa, you get all the documents and everything, and you carry them to the embassy. In the 90s, many of the events I attended, by the time I get the papers to go to the embassy, it was over. The event had been held. So for us, the activists, it's been very helpful. It's easier for us to get support, get connection, put things out there. But it also comes with the risk and dangers. You can also be targeted online, and people can also easily reach you. So just like you can easily walk and get things done, people can also easily reach you and target you. Like during the campaign to free Mubarak, people were threatening me. They tell you, I know where you are. I know where you are. We have gotten Mubarak. You are the next. Okay? So, and such threats, of course, they worried more my family members and all that. And it got me into serious issues with family members. But I made them understand that some of the prices one has to pay if you really have to stand your ground on matters like that. So it has helped us, giving us additional resources. It has also exposed us also to additional risks. So what we have to do is to see how we can balance the resource and the risk to make sure that we continue whatever we can do to highlight the possibilities, the potential, and the promises of non-belief in Black communities.
Thank you, Leo. One other thing I'd just quickly like you to touch on is the way I see humanism and non-belief is like a relay race. You know, you pass the baton on to the next runner. So do you see young people coming up who will carry on the work and continue the work of non-belief in Africa?
Clive, I don't believe in miracles. And why I'm telling you this is that, and this is what I'm telling them at Humanist International. This is on a light note. Even though we are humanists, sometimes they believe in miracles. In other words, I don't believe somebody will emerge tomorrow. No, from where? Is that Angel Gabriel or what? Coming from heaven to come and take over the destiny? No, I don't believe in miracles. I believe that if you want young people to come tomorrow, what are you doing to attract young people? Okay? So, if we want young people to take over from me, put in place mechanisms to train them, mentor them, and incentivize, reward them. And this is what we have not been doing. I want to say it here. I know my board members, when they watch this now, they know me. I've been fighting at the board. I said, hey guys, enough of this nonsense. Do you get it? We need leadership training institute. We need leadership training programs. I can tell you that there are lots of young people who want to work and as humanist leaders, but they need to be sure that there's something in there for them. Yeah. So I'm investing heavily the remaining years of my activism to make sure that we put in place leadership training. I don't mean 3 days grant, writing. No, this is. I told them this is childish. That's what they're doing for 3 days. 3 days, you become an activist. Who does that? Look at it. So what I'm saying there is that we need to begin. If we want young people to come over, we need to build a bridge. We need to put in place a mechanism. We need to invest every year in leadership training programs. Look, I am coming from the Catholic faith. I know what I'm talking about. The Catholic Church invests millions of dollars every year training, subsidizing the education of young people. They did that for me. And here I am today, and I do get it. So yes, I will tell you that Rome does that. And in our own, we do nothing. We were just using wishful thinking. Oh, because Leo emerged, no more Leos will emerge. It's not true. Yes, we should abandon that. So what am I saying? There are young people who are ready to take over from me. But we have to put in place programs and mechanisms, make them, it was their time, it was their energy, and it was their life.
I'll come back to you on that when we finish this program so that we can discuss how to bring young people in a bit more, because I would say I've been doing it for a while and I want to see fresh young faces coming in. So I'm going to pass over to Audrey now, and she's going to talk a little bit about women's role in online unbelief spaces. Audrey, over to you.
I am going to talk about women's non-belief, but I also just want to follow up on Leo's point. And one of the things, one of the biggest differences with humanism and religion is money. And I always find that within religious, people are prepared to give over their naira, they're prepared to give over their pounds, they're prepared to give over their dollar. But I find in humanism, they're not prepared to give so freely. They're not prepared to give. And we always have a problem with funding and trying to fund our humanism. So what is the miracle that we can ask for as humanists to say that we can get the money to do the things that we need to do? What are your thoughts on that?
Audrey, everybody finds it difficult to give money. Yes, I want to tell you. Let me tell you, in my community, every time I travel home, the women always complain about the local parish priest extorting money. Every time we contribute this, they complain, but they still do it. Okay? Now, listen, because I keep telling the humanist movement, the alternative, you are providing alternative religion. I know the religion you are providing the alternative to, and I know how they work. Now, what are you doing to attract my money? What? You can't just tell me, Association of Black Humanists are meeting, then I'll give you money. Who does that? And this is what I'm telling the Humanist International. I said, listen, guys, you have to put in place programs that will move people to give their money. They won't look at your face and say, oh yeah, that's a handsome, that's a beautiful black man. Or they'll look at the level. That is so superficial. But when people understand that you're doing important work, so go to work. Stop talking. Walk the talk. Walk the talk. Do not talk too much. Let me use broken language and speak to you people. Let me tell you, I go to meetings. They talk 3 days Congress. They go, I'll just ask. I used to call Andrew was there. I say, what am I taking home? Now talk. Okay? Oh, look. Talk too much. That's why people don't want to give you money. Listen. I started the advocacy for alleged witches to 2020. When I started, a BBC journalist, he called me. He said, Leo, where will you get the money? That is the easiest way to demoralize you, especially if you are working from Nigeria or Africa. Is the money factor. I laughed. Okay? Has it been easy? The answer is no. And I want to tell you, I have gotten donations I never imagined that I would get. This weekend, I'll be in the US. An American guy is funding a documentary on our activities at the advocacy, a full documentary. By next weekend, I'll be in the US. So the thing is that step up, good talk, good. Humanists are good at that. Good talk, perfect. Una they talk, good talk. We need action. Humanism in need and humanism indeed. You know, they say a friend in need is a friend indeed. So you people talk need. You have to begin to talk the deed. It is the deed that will bring the money. As I speak to you, we have bought a landed property. We want to have a humanist center there. That humanist center will have a health center attached to it. Because we don't want to go and be talking health. No, there will be service attached to it. So it will be a humanist center with a humanist service. Just like the parishes, we build a parish for the priest and build a church to indoctrinate. No, we build the center and attach a health or school. 2 things. So I'm trying to set that. I said, so when I talk too much, I said, go and start a center. Go and turn this talk into service. People will give you money.
Oh, I take that on board. In Jamaica, we'd say chatty people get jackass. So we're here. We talk too much, you don't get anything good from it. So I take it on board. I take it on board. As the Association of Black Humanists, we have to do more. Thank you for that. I take that on board. I did want to talk about women though, because I think women are always the kind of the movers and shakers whenever it comes to things. We know that, you're out there, you're doing your thing, but we know that grassroots wise, it's women that are out there doing the groundwork. What is it about women that make us, we are there doing our thing. We don't get the recognition in quite the same way. And but we are highly visible. And why do you think Black women are occupying this space and why we're here? Firstly, why are we occupying the space, and why aren't we getting the recognition that we're doing the work?
Power relation. That's one. Number two, lack of rebellion. It's just like now, Black and white issues, okay? When you resign to the power relation, no problem, that's the peace. But we don't need that kind of peace. So women are trying to preserve patriarchal peace, and by so doing, they're subordinated. Yes, we need women to challenge patriarchal power relation in a civil way. It's just like, even in Nigeria, as I speak to you, a lot of people will ask you, oh, Leo, why is it that everybody is going this way and you are going the other way? I said, I don't know where others are going. I don't know. I cannot be following you. Do you get what I'm saying? To go in the direction. I don't know where they're going. And when I try to look at where they're going, there's no direction there. There's no road, actually, where they're going. So let me be going where I think there is a road, so I won't follow people and go into the hole. So a lot of people want to also follow. They want peace. They don't want to. So every peaceful environment has a power relation. And if you resign to that power relation, then you are at peace. So Black women, I think, that's my opinion, resign to the patriarchal power relation because they don't want trouble, because it comes with the perks. They don't want to be seen as, I think that should be the appropriate outlier, somebody outside there. They don't want to be seen as rebellious. They have been socialized to see themselves as subordinates. But we don't need that. We don't. And our educational system, watch again, because that's another sector we also have not been doing a lot of work. Our educational system encourages that kind of conformism, reinforced by Christianity and religion that has a lot of money. So, like now, one of the things a lot of people tell me is that not only where will you get money, but how will you get political relevance? They will tell me, oh, you are not going to win election. So for Black women, oh, who will marry you? Okay? And all that. How will you start a family? So people are socialized to do everything they can so that they will be marriage worthy, marriage qualified, and all that. Otherwise, what happens? But we need a lot of women who are rebels. Yes. And for them to also band together and also not create this impression as if it is, okay, male domination, then we have to come with female domination. No, it should be driven by the sense of equity and equality, because there are a lot of men who support equality of women. Though many of us are socialized under this patriarchal relationship, but when you relate with people, you understand there's a lot of good and freedom where you relate with a woman in a free and respectful way. I can tell you that from my personal experiences. But sometimes socialization, what the society will say, a lot of people said, don't worry, let me stay where I am. Like when I wanted to leave the seminary, some people were telling me, where are you going? Because for them, there is no road outside the prison. But there's so many roads. So many. There's so many friends out there. I tell you, all your friends, people say this, but I get raw. And I get general friends with whom I can laugh about religion and superstition and also do something about it. I'm just trying to compare Black women sometimes with the plight of atheists in a place like Africa and challenges like that. So there is a power relation, and there's a need for Black women to start speaking out, to start challenging those patriarchal authorities. That's how the freedom will come. Otherwise, the patriarchal power regime will continue.
Thank you, Leo. I think I'm you're looking at a new rebel. Thank you. You've shaped me. Watch out, people. I'm going to hand over to Clive now for our closing. Leo, thank you so much. Clive, please take us out.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to continue for the next 2-3 hours, but unfortunately, we've come to the end of what has been very rich and thought-provoking conversation. Dr. Leo Igwe, Thank you for taking the time to join us today and for sharing your insights, your experience, and your clarity with us, and also your practical hints as to how to push humanism forward. So we want to thank you for that. And also I'd like to thank my co-host, Audrey, and thank our listeners for joining us on Secular Sankofa. If you enjoyed today's episode, please follow us wherever you get your podcasts, and don't forget to share and tell your friends. So I've been your host, Clive Areude from the Association of Black Humanists, and this has been Secular Sankofa. So until next time, speak boldly, think freely, and live consciously. Thank you.
Secular Sankofa is produced by Humanize Live for the Association of Black Humanists. If you enjoy the show, please leave us a rating and a review. It helps more people discover us. For more from the Association of Black Humanists, find us on Meetup or at AB Humanists on all social media platforms. Humanize Live creates world-class podcasts, videos, and events for purpose-led individuals and organizations. If you're ready to start your podcast, visit humanize.live to learn more.